Okay, hello. We're here on this lovely sort of sunny day with the sun streaming into this through the studio window. We decided to I'll just sit here and let that do that. And we're here with Eden Fay, and to talk about your kind of your creative journey, your journey joining us as a No Rules member. And recently, your wonderful session that you did in our group, where you did a creative sort of a meditation, which was just wonderful. So we thought we'd record this because there's so much that we want to say, really. And so, Eden, tell us about your journey because I love this story. I love a story, and this is just wonderful. Sort of discovering who you are
Yeah.
through your creative, yeah,
Well,
endeavors.
that's it, isn't it? And it's
Mm.
and it continues. So my background is in jewelry making. So I so after school where I did really random A levels.
What
Talk
did
about things.
you do? Tell
I
us.
did I did art,
Yeah.
philosophy, and physics.
Oh, wow. I'm
Yeah,
seeing so much crossover at the moment in people that have studied sciences that then do something really creative.
that's true. Yeah,
Mm.
I definitely noticed that as well. I mean,
That's
I
a
wasn't
wonderful
very good at
combination.
it. I was just amazed by it, and I didn't do any. I wasn't good at maths, so I was a bit completely out of my depth. But it blew my mind, so I loved it. So I went from there, and I did a fine art foundation at St. Martin's.
Right?
Um, Mainly because my friends were doing it, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like
Uh-huh.
17 years old. I mean, I'm double that age now, and I still don't really know what's going on.
Still just following your intuition on sometimes where your friends are going. That was exactly what I did, Eden.
Oh,
I
really?
kind of, I did, what did I do? I did French, history, and textiles for my A levels. See?
Nice.
And then I went to art college and then I followed my friends to textiles because they were
Yeah.
like, we're going here. So really similar. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Having no rules in it from the beginning.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. I always feel like if I could go back now with more knowledge, I would 100% have done textiles, like no question about it. Um, because and that was always, did you do new designers?
Yes.
So we did that with jewelry. And
Oh,
the
right.
bit that
Okay.
I loved being in was all of the textiles. That was the bit that I was
Right.
like, I want to just be around here and surround myself with all of the textiles. So I went from my fine art to doing jewelry because I remember making one of the projects that we did was we had a book. We had to get a book from a charity shop and we had to make it into something, like use it to inform a piece of art. So people were doing these really like St. Martin's-y things.
Yeah.
And I made my book, I think it was called Airport, and I made tiny pieces of luggage out of the pages and then made a wire trolley. And I
Uh-huh.
was
I
like,
love it.
I want to make tiny things.
Yeah.
This is what makes me so happy,
Yeah.
which made sense to me to go and learn to make jewelry.
Mm.
So I did metalwork and jewelry at UCA Farnham, graduated in 2013, and then went into the jewelry trade. So working around Hatton Garden. Um, I worked for different people, so I was a workshop assistant, like making other people's designs. So all, all hands on making things and then doing my own bits as well. And over the years, I've made engagement rings and been in Ubers with very expensive diamonds in my pocket and absolutely
Wow.
terrified. But it just never really felt like me.
Okay.
But I couldn't put my finger on that at the time. But
Mm.
it just, I love the designing. I always loved designing, and I do actually have a ring here that I've made, which was one.
Oh, I love this one. That's gorgeous. Is that the one in
It's
your sale at the moment?
yes, like the
Lovely.
sister to that one.
Mm.
So I don't know how well you can see it, but there's lots of texture.
Yeah.
And then the stone is set by this, it's called a star setting.
Oh, it's
So
lovely.
it's I love it. Just as much
Mm.
texture as
They
I.
remind me of the, is it gypsy rings when they have
Oh,
those star settings?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
I love
yeah.
those.
I think it's called a gypsy setting, is similar
Yeah.
to this. Yeah. Um. So so I did sort of. I feel like I found my jewelry voice, but it wasn't quite my voice.
Mm.
Um. So alongside the making, I worked in a jewelry gallery in London
Yeah.
where it was all about championing other like small designers, independent makers. So it wasn't anything mass produced, it was all handmade. And I loved it because it was just, I just got to enthuse all day about jewelry. It was great. And I loved it when people were trying things on and you could just see their whole demeanor change when they tried something on that just worked for them. And so through that, then realized that actually the thing that I love here is talking to people and working with people and enthusing.
Yeah.
Um, so I can't quite remember what the changeover was, but I started then working in arts education.
Okay.
So I think I did help out, or maybe with somebody that I used to work with, we did a jewelry class for adults with additional needs.
Mm.
And that was maybe the sort of the
Mm.
pivot point. Um,
You just loved it.
I just that being with people, and for me, it's always about encouraging people to do their own thing.
Yes.
Which is why No Rules appeals to me so
Mm.
much because
Mhm.
it's not, I think so much of life and creativity is about let's learn to do this thing better, or we're all going to start here and we're all going to end here and it's going to look
Yeah.
exactly the same, which is like my worst nightmare. Because,
Mhm.
that's what I feel with when I see these. No, I should preface this by saying everybody's different
Yeah.
and everybody works in
And it
different ways.
suits some people. But
Exactly.
for people who don't think like that, there's quite a lot of unlearning to do
Yeah.
because we're not really taught that in kind of mainstream education.
No, we're not, because mainstream education is all about getting the grades.
Exactly.
So, and especially having gone to a very academic school,
Mm.
I'm unlearning every day, and I'm
Yeah.
so aware of the noises in my head that are like, oh, but if you do this, it will look better. What if I don't care if it looks better? What does better even mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I can really feel I'm ping-ponging around. Am I
No,
going?
no, it's fine because I mean that is what happens when people come into No Rules. There's a lot of questions around like, but why are we doing it? What's
Yeah,
going to be a product? We are taught that
yeah,
there should be an end product, or the should do's, should do's. And
should,
what happens if we're just doing it because we love
because
doing it? And so far, just listening to you and you're telling us about your life journey, you're like, but in this position, I was like, I could feel it. I was like, I love being here and
yeah,
recognizing that and letting that guide you in your life. And by the way, I was kind of writing and I was like, we should never regret where and not that you're saying that you regret, but you're like, but why did I do that? Because it informs you. All these pieces of our
absolutely.
life are going to, making these small things, being intricate detail, and it kind of takes you to then doing,
And we're doing the best with what we can at the time.
yeah,
I think we're very easy, it's very easy for us as a species, to just be hard on ourselves because we should have known better.
yeah.
But being a human is really hard.
And
And
actually, inherently experimental. I mean, as you're talking about this, when we were talking just before we put the recording on, a lot of your things are quite extreme, even. You've gone from like tiny jewelry to what you're just about to show us that you're doing now.
it's
You're
true.
doing a meditation in No Rules, and yet your life is larger than life and kind of exciting and like, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
confusing about everything to a stillness that goes down into meditation. So I kind of love this. These
yeah,
extremes are
it's
the
so
journey of your
true.
life.
And actually, it's just made me think I've got my big brain over there. I should get that out because I think that's
Your
such
big
a good
brain.
big brain. I must have shown you my big brain.
No, you haven't.
Can I just one moment, please?
Yes. Okay.
Actually, this is really good because I think this ties in very well with
I was
me.
expecting an actual model of a brain, and you've brought over some textiles. I love this.
A paper mache brain.
Yeah, or like one of those science brains that you see in a science lab with like sections on it, but it was huge.
Well, I think then I will very unceremoniously just have to just
Yes,
unfold my brain.
yes, unfold your
But I
brain.
love that in relation to what you just thought it was going to look like.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. So it says, what does it say? Oh my goodness.
It says, "Help, my
Help.
brain is gaslighting me."
My brain is gaslighting me and this big monster in the middle of it. Wonderful.
So
The
this
monster
is
brain.
I think this ties in really perfectly because in the last few years is when I've discovered that I'm neurodivergent.
Yeah.
So, and that's had such a, I mean, these things just make so much sense when you look back and you think, oh, so this is why I did art and physics without maths, because I just wanted to do it and it was
Yeah.
exciting. And at the time, yeah, you just look back and things just make so much sense looking back over your life. So I'll clarify that because
Yeah.
I think there's neurodivergent is such a massive term, but I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD and autism. Um, and so what I found then is this journey of me sort of meandering and finding the bits that I want to take forward makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And yes, you're so right about the extremes. And I love that you said that because it tickles me. Um, because in the past I would have been like, oh no, that I feel really like vulnerable, no people knowing that. But now I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, here's my brain.
Yeah. And it's interesting, actually. I just want to kind of put, I don't want to, keep talking about no rules, but that's kind of, my brain was a big muddle when I started No Rules. And in a way, I put it into prompts to compartmentalize it.
Uh-huh.
And as people work through that, I feel like this is what they're doing. They're kind of like, just a little bit of that, or that aspect of that, and that bit of that. And like they're taking these bits to find out what their kind of art language is or the ingredients to their
Yes.
textile practice. That's always, and whenever we do a prompt, some people will be like, I'm not doing that as rubbish. And then by the end of it, they're like, oh, but actually, I kind of surprised myself and I like this.
Because
And,
it's finding
feeling
what
into things.
works
Yeah,
exactly and finding what works for each person.
exactly.
And that's, I think, what is so key to all of this is that you're
Mm.
you're you in what you do and the same in how I do my sessions. It's here's a starting point. What are you going to do? Let's have a play.
Yeah. And if
And
we don't do things that go wrong or what, that's the richness of it because we can kind of find out things through the doing.
yes,
And if we don't like it, yeah, that's fine. You don't have to do that again. Or
and
you
yeah,
may surprise yourself and go, but actually going through this, I found this.
yes,
Never have found that.
and
Or
being
never
open
have
to
known
that,
it.
being
And we
open to
kind of
that playfulness.
yeah, exactly. And we kind of see things almost through a different lens. And I'm sort of seeing that through your story. You're like, oh yeah, it does make a lot of sense. And it's
Yeah,
lovely to kind of go back on that so far and go, okay, get it
yeah. And
now.
then because I feel like so much of that for me is then about honoring my past self
Mm,
and sort of looking after little Eden, who was so unhappy for so much of the time.
yeah.
But and now no, with hindsight, it's like, well, of
Mhm.
course I was because I was autistic and I didn't
Yeah.
know.
And you were trying to fit yourself into a box that wasn't you.
Yeah. Oh, and there's this is very relevant to my exhibition that I did last year.
Okay. So hang on a minute. Let's go. So you being a jeweler.
Okay,
Wait a
sorry.
minute. So you're a jeweler, but you
Yes.
also made this crazy quilt. So we've had a glimpse at what you're kind of, I'm
Yeah.
not saying crazy, but it's the opposite
It's
of
larger
like,
than life.
so your rings, are pretty no rules. So where did you, so you did the workshop with the group of people that you were working with, the neurodivergent group, and you were like, I love this. When did making these quilts and these big expressions of
Oh,
Eden
yeah.
start happening?
So, thank you for reining my brain back in.
Okay. My
So
brain's all over the place too.
yeah, I think we're doing really well.
Yes.
So what happened for me was I, so, okay, the journey then continued with me doing an internship in arts education.
Okay.
So it was in a gallery in London. Um, Gallery? Yeah. But they had a really great arts education team. So it was all about working with different groups. And that was where I was like, right, this is absolutely what I want to do. Um, and um, so that was really great experience working with different groups of people, working with kids, with adults, working with people with dementia, which I was like, no, this is, can't do this.
Oh, okay.
Um, but then, boundaries, as we were talking about, that
Yeah.
was,
Why did you find that so difficult to work with?
oh, I found it devastating. And I
Yeah.
just had to like remove myself to cry. I think I did it 2 or 3 times and I had to go and cry in the toilet each time. Um, yeah, and I know that some people love to work with that group of humans, and
Yeah.
it's
And I think that's what we
something
have to
triggers in
remember
me.
that they're the right people to do, like to do certain things. And, and because your brain is sparking a lot of ideas all the time, it's almost like that's really difficult and hard,
Yeah,
to kind of, yeah, I see that.
yeah. And yeah, it's just we all have different things that
Mm.
work for us.
It's like I can't repeat anything ever. I
Yeah,
have to do something different, like doing any kind of production of the same thing. I just find really difficult.
yeah,
And yet once I was in a workshop and this lady was like, "Oh, yeah, let me make 10 of something. I love it." And I was like, "Oh," because yeah, all our minds,
we're all
brains
different.
are
And
different.
it's
And
and it's
when we're
embracing that.
doing the things that we've been gifted to do,
Mm,
makes everybody happier if, and realize we're really privileged if we can do that. But if we
yeah.
can, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Lean
absolutely.
into it.
So it sort of went from doing that, helping out with groups, to then thinking, actually, nowhere around where I live, no one's doing it in the way that I want to do it.
Okay.
Um, because looking around, most places that teach art are teaching art,
Yeah.
or here's how you paint oil landscapes better,
Hmm.
or here's how you do this thing like this.
Yes.
And I was like, what if I don't want to do that? This doesn't
Yeah,
fit
very
with
much. I would
me.
get asked to do workshops and they'd be like, but what's the end result? And I'd be like, there isn't one. We're just going to play. And they're like, no, no, no. You
Yeah,
can't do that. People don't want that.
yeah.
So it is breaking down those
This is yeah.
barriers.
This is why we get each other. Because and that's so just before COVID started, I started my own art workshops,
Mhm.
which were playing.
Yeah.
So I tried it with just people. I invited people that I knew locally when I was living at home in North London,
Mm.
and I think the first one I did was clay. So
Uh-huh.
we like gathered in a hall, and I gave everyone some clay and
Yeah.
some tools and put on some music and gave them some Jaffa cakes.
I love it. Playgroup for adults.
Playgroup. Oh, that's such a good name. Playgroup for adult. I'm writing that down, Jane.
Yeah, that my workshops used to be described as that.
I mean, that's
Mm.
exactly what I do. So then it's
Eden's
evolved
playgroup for
into
adults. I love
that's
it.
it. That's it. So then COVID happened and everything went online, which actually worked really well.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised. because then what happened, rather than me giving people um, materials in a place altogether, was that we were all in different places. So it takes away a bit of the um, scariness of other people seeing what you're doing. I was able to put on calm music and I would give people a prompt.
Yeah.
So it would be something like, this week we're going to be making art about self-compassion or journeys or trying to think of things that I did.
But those parameters are so important.
Yes. So there
No,
is something
like,
that's holding it.
yeah.
But then anyone, you can do whatever you like. And because I'm not providing the materials, people can use whatever they want. They can share if they want. They don't
And you
have
can
to.
gently guide them,
Yeah. So
ideas.
it started with, yes, and I'll always give ideas, but it started being more prescribed. So it started being more like, we're going to do collage today, or we're
Yeah.
going to do mono printing and like do like a kitchen table version of mono
Mm.
printing.
Mm.
But then over time, it evolved into things that were the themes were much more intangible.
Right.
So it really then just was whatever people want to do.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, again, like this meandering,
Yeah.
how I've led the things have meandered as well. So it now is at the point where my art sessions that I lead are I offer a starting point, and then some of my favorite ones I do with the local art center are they're called Art Buffet.
Yeah.
So here's some stuff,
Yeah.
have a play.
Yeah.
And you can tell when people get it because they come back. I've had people come
Yeah.
back for years, whereas some people will come once and go, oh no, I need to be told what to do and not come back again. And fine, there's plenty of places you can go that people
Yeah.
tell you what to do.
But they know where to come if they want to kind of lean into
Play.
that and kind of almost try and learn that.
Yes.
What happens then, without even you leading a meditation, is you get into a creative meditation
Hmm.
by playing without an attachment to the end result.
And that's where the mindfulness comes into it, even if it's not. So I am a mindfulness teacher, which is I find hilarious because of how chaotic I am. But I quickly realized that so I trained to be a mindfulness teacher during COVID,
Yeah,
during when I was
right.
doing it all
Okay.
online.
Yeah.
Because somebody said to me like, oh, why don't you, because you're it's sort of that anyway, like why don't you
It's a
actually
natural
train?
progression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It made so much sense. So I did this short course. I mean, mindfulness isn't a regulated thing, so I did like the most pucker course I could find,
Mm.
um, which was approved by the British Psychological Society.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
So it was great. It was
Yeah.
lovely, and it was really full on. And then after we finished it, we had to do some assessments and lead things and record them.
Mm.
And I immediately, first of all, I was amazed at how great my meditation voice is, which is I get
It's
compliments
very
every
great. I
time.
can attest to this. Eden led a meditation in No Rules. It was amazing.
And it calms me down so much. It's
Yeah,
great. It's
you were
like
saying that
self-soothing.
you meditate as you're sort of talking. That's when
Yeah.
you meditate best,
Yes, that
which
is my most powerful time that I can meditate is when I'm leading others in meditation. And I think there's so much about embodying that when you're teaching.
yeah.
Um, but a lot of what I found was when I was learning like the attitudes of mindfulness, which is, the principles that you teach mindfulness through, the crossover between mindfulness and how I approach art was like the Venn diagrams were like a circle.
I
Um,
love these crossovers.
I was
Mind
just like,
blowing.
this is exactly. So things like, as we mentioned before, things about like beginner's mind is one of the principles.
Mm.
So looking at things as if it's the first time, and that's how we learn we learn to approach things within mindfulness because you're as if you've never seen something before. It's like that being a curious toddler. And then what if you do that with art? You
And the
know,
feedback that we got from that session, from, really accomplished embroiderers who have been stitching for years, I mean, years, all
Yeah.
their life, to actually sit and really, really look at
Yeah.
their work.
Because
And
we
you
don't
kind of
see
guided us
them
with
like
that by
that.
we were looking at our hands first, so it was gentle. It wasn't like straight into like looking at a piece of work that you'd done. But the feedback was just incredible because
Mm,
we don't often stop.
no.
So, you can be in that, I do call it creative meditation when you're in a workshop and you're just lost in play. Just a bit like when my son was little, I remember bursting into a room and going, "We're going now." And he jumped, physically. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I'll never do that again. I'll gently go in and go, hey, well, I'll try to go 5 minutes. But it really made me think how deep in play when you're young you are, and how that can be the same when you're, stitching or painting or
Absolutely.
and your whole body slows down. And I remember when we started No Rules, people were like, but why, but it wasn't any good at the end, so it was pointless really. And it was like, it was so restorative for your body, your heart slowed down, everything. We don't have a game of tennis and think, well, I didn't actually make anything during that session.
It's so
You
true.
you you got more healthy. You had a really nice time,
Yeah.
like all of that, even if you didn't win, and why not apply that thinking to half an hour of creating?
And yeah, that's exactly how I view it, as it's the process, not the product of what we're making. The product is a lovely bonus.
Yeah.
But I'll say to people when I'm doing art with them in person, you don't have to take this home. Like,
Yeah.
just the fact that you're here is the goal.
But also, you don't know how much that will knock on to the rest of your life. Or indeed, like, when you're doing something for half an hour, your brain might be processing and like that clicks into something else that you'll do, but you wouldn't have got there had you not have done the process of that.
Absolutely.
Rather like you may not have got where you are now if you hadn't have studied jewelry at Farnham.
Yeah,
And then been
absolutely.
in galleries and discovered that you love teaching art and infusing and and it's all, yeah, it's all good.
Absolutely. There's so much that we can learn from making stuff
Yeah.
about us, not just
Yeah,
the making. Like, it's
exactly.
so much more than the making,
Mm,
because you're giving yourself permission,
yeah.
and giving yourself permission to play in a contained environment where you're stitching or painting or just making something.
And
What is
making
that?
choices. You're kind of going, oh, I kind of like that bit. I'm not sure why, but I'll do a bit more of that. And
Mm.
that kind of flow state. And very definitely that then has a knock-on effect to the rest of your life.
Because how often are we that kind to ourselves that we're like, oh, okay, I'll try that. Like, even that tone of voice, being humans, we tend to, obviously, I don't know what's inside everyone's brain, but we are like biologically drawn to the negative
Hmm.
because it keeps us safe.
Yeah.
So we are so used to seeing things
You're so right.
negatively.
Keeps us safe. That's exactly
Yeah,
it.
that's
And
it.
before, when we were talking, I was saying that I was having imposter syndrome about stuff, and you were like, "Really, you do?" Yes, we all do.
Because we're humans, and
Yeah.
we just and I think that I think it's just such a perfect illustration of that, because me being surprised that you get imposter syndrome because of I'm just like, oh, Jane's got it all figured out. But it just shows that nobody knows what they're doing.
But
Would
it
it be
does help if you know yourself
100%?
a bit better by being still sometimes, or kind of, I do a lot of writing. I keep having to
Oh,
write.
that's great.
But
Yeah.
it's also noticing, isn't it? It's a
Yep.
noticing when you're doing something that kind of feels easy, but actually that means you're quite good at it. We were talking about gel printing. I'm like, I feel like an imposter because I don't really know the proper acrylic to use or the proper timing or maybe the paper or all this stuff. But I do know that I love to innovate and that's my strengths within it. So, and also like I'm often saying in No Rules, I can't stitch in a straight line. How on earth am I running a textile membership? But you can twist that to be a kind of to be a strength. You know,
I mean, I would argue that it's absolutely a strength because you're in you being in a position where you are leading no rules without being able to sew in a straight line. That's giving people permission to go, oh, I
yeah,
don't have to do it in the way that society tells me I have to. And I
or
to
the
go
way that
back
you were
to
taught at school that it must be
exactly.
straight.
And to go back to the thing about school and how it is drummed into us from birth that if we're going to do something, you do it properly, you
Yeah.
do it so that you get your grades and you get your certificate and then you get your GCSEs and your A levels and then you go to university and then you get a promotion and blah blah blah. Blah. What if what if we say actually I don't want to be governed by that capitalist patriarchy all the
What
time?
happens if we embrace imperfection? What happens
Yeah.
if we make a whole course about not joining up your seams in patchwork? And
What
suddenly everyone feels this massive freedom. They're like, what,
exactly?
really?
It's
I
permission.
don't have to comply. I mean, not to say that when I see beautiful patchworks, as you know, I'm going to caveat that with like when I see gorgeous work, I am in awe,
Hmm. But
but
it's different.
I also do love this kind of, you know, just wonky imperfection.
And for me, that is the bit about being human.
Mm.
Because like another thing I say to people when I'm working with them is if you wanted this to be perfect, then you might as well go and buy it.
That's so true.
Like,
When I was working for my agent at one point, they said, your embroidery is getting a bit good now. Can you actually not make it look like it was done,
oh, that's
you know,
perfect, isn't it? I love
yeah,
that. That's
make it look
great.
like it's done by hand. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it's got your signature within it because,
Yes.
yeah, we've got drawing that looks, and, again, I've got a friend who draws so exquisitely. But also, I love that kind of drawing that's drawn with the other hand and like expressionless drawing. So there's all these things. And I think we can be any of these things.
Yeah,
And knowing that allows us to be ourselves in life and accept
absolutely.
ourselves more.
Because if you think if you were doing saying like the sort of the microcosm of an art session,
Mm.
if you only let yourself do exactly what the instructions told you, if there were instructions, exactly what the
Not
instructions
in our
told you.
lessons.
No, what are instructions? Um, if you're following exactly what somebody's telling you to do in exactly the way, and it's upsetting because you're not, it doesn't look the way that you wanted it to, or,
Yeah.
you can see, plenty of times I see people getting upset. I will have the same conversation, like bar none, like every time I lead adults in making art, it's always this conversation about how we are told that things have to be perfect.
Yeah.
But then if that is your view in the art class, if you then remove the art class in the rest of your life, you are going to be so careful and restricting yourself. Again, I feel like this is massive generalizations, but
Yeah.
the theme
But
of
for
it is
some people,
yeah.
it's,
But
yeah.
then I bet, and it also it always comes back to this idea of vulnerability, being scared to do what something else,
Mm.
because that's not what we're taught. That means we're sticking out. That means we're being vulnerable, and people could go, "Oh, what are you doing? That doesn't look like the picture."
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
And then if we then think about the having permission in a situation or a course or a group or a class where we can do whatever we want and it's encouraged,
Yeah.
how could that not impact you? How could that not
Mm.
plant a seed when you think, actually, maybe I don't have to do this in this way? This art buffet that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it for about 3 years, and some of the people that have I'm now friends with, and we have little craft dates where we go and crochet and stuff together.
Yeah.
But we were talking recently about one of the first sessions I did. So the first one I did was clay because I love clay. The next one I think was a mindful drawing. So I gave people some organic objects and gave them some prompts. And so you could either follow the prompts, which were very much like draw with your wrong hand and close your eyes and
Yeah.
feel it and draw it.
But I
Um,
love like
this is just
gamifying it,
and it's so mindful, but it's fun. So
Mm.
it's like, oh, this is like informal mindfulness. It's like this whole nother planet of deliciousness. Um, or people could do whatever they liked. But what was really interesting was we did this same session quite recently, and I had this chat with the same person who drew this one shell meticulously the first time. Like she didn't finish it,
Yeah.
because it was so slow,
Mm.
so careful. I'm gonna get this perfect. And then to have it in comparison to the thing that she drew, the same shell
Yeah.
that she drew a couple of months ago, where it was colourful, it was in pen, it was no, the first one was in pencil, very careful. This one was like it's like this is the most beautiful illustration of your thinking and how much this was I have to do this a certain way because that's the proper way you do it. And as we all, I mean,
Mm.
why would we think anything else? You
Yeah.
know, growing up in a capitalist society, things have to be perfect. But then comparing that to this messy, free, it looked like she had fun drawing it. And that was one of many that she drew in the session because she let herself just move through it quicker. It's like this is what a perfect illustration. And what is that thinking? What does that then unfold in the rest of your life if you are giving yourself permission to not be so careful with every detail? And I love it.
The things that I just know I'm not good at, like framing and things like that, like I'll just hand over to somebody who
Yeah.
does, because we are talking about this and like you and I love the kind of I've not finished it. I'm doing, and we're embracing what we love in ourselves,
Mm.
but there are obviously, as you said, that was, generalizing, but some people do love to be meticulous. That is
Yeah.
their happy place.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's those framers and people like that that I want to go, okay, here,
Yeah.
make my messy work beautifully
Yeah.
framed with no fingerprints and like, I can't make dinner without getting it all over the floor and the cooker, you know?
Oh, I
That's just
know.
me.
I'm
And it's
constantly
hard
covered in
actually.
stuff. I'm like, what? Why am I covered in pen? Always. And
But
yes,
it's hard. I think also it's hard because we've probably, and you the same, I was always told that I was scatty, that I was like, why can't you do, you're just dropping things everywhere and I can see where you've been. And, yes. And I'm almost told that it was kind of wrong, but now I'm embracing it and going, but this is who I am,
and actually, that's interesting because I was never like that when I was little.
Oh, okay.
I was quiet and good girl, and I don't want to upset anybody.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
as I've now got gotten older, embraced myself more, and now learned about my brain, I
Mm.
am like a tornado with legs. And yes, it's uncomfortable being so on the go all the time, but also I feel so free.
Yeah.
It's not it's
Yeah. But also
yeah.
you can manage it or bring it in with the tools that you've learned,
Yeah.
you know.
My making is the meditation for me. So I would
Yeah,
very rarely sit and do a formal breath meditation.
right. Yeah.
I would scribble.
This is why I love gel printing so much because you can be completely
Printing.
in flow. You kind of got not much control over what's happening and you're not really thinking because you have to do it quickly.
Yeah.
So that was like, yeah, that was where my love for it just, and within half an hour, you've really done a creative workout.
Yes, that's it.
And the room's full of
Yeah.
prints, you know. I
Oh yeah,
love
absolutely.
that.
And it's quick and you have to embrace that. it makes me think about this, which I showed in the session the other day.
Wonderful. I'm going to just pin you here to get this bigger. Wow. Yes. Everything is made up.
So
Wonderful.
this was actually this was prompted by the traditional prompt.
I love that.
Yeah, because I was like, what is tradition? Tradition is made up. Like everything
You
is
made
made
it
up.
up. Yeah.
And yeah, so this was a good example of this. This is all me scribbling.
Yeah.
All of this is just scribbles.
Yeah.
But then so I have that outlet of I need to get all this energy out.
Yeah.
But then the rest of it is it's quilted. And it took
Again, it's two extremes
bloody
again,
ages.
Eden. Crazy kind of scribbling and this mindful slow stitching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it took
Differences, which was another one of our prompts.
yes. And that's absolutely and I love that
Yeah.
because I think this is really me. This is the scribbling is me being a tornado on legs, and then
Mm.
this is me
Yeah.
finding comfort in that slow mindfulness of slow stitching. And
And both of them being you.
yeah, and embracing that and
Yeah.
not squashing it down and not pretending that I'm calm all the time.
Exactly. Wonderful. Have you got any other pieces there?
I have this, which is I don't know where you can see it, but that's kind of the point. Life is
Definitely.
weird.
Your life is weird, which is kind of like, yeah. Well, tell us what you were thinking when you did that.
Well, this one was well, this in itself is an illustration of masking for me.
Mhm.
Um, so I plopped around with the inks on a piece of fabric, which was my playing,
Yeah.
and then I realized that I could. I mean, I didn't have an amazing array of beads, but the ones that I had, I tried to match up with what
Yeah, it's
the
lovely.
colors underneath. So I, because I was thinking about masking as an autistic person
Mm,
and how it's so weird that you have to camouflage yourself to be palatable. Um, and looking back, this is what have done for 30 years plus. But then it got to the end and I was like, I'm bored of this now.
and it
I want
won't come. But
color.
weirdly, R&D is like research and design.
Yes. But then
That's
it was
what
sort
it
of a
is.
like actually it's okay if you don't.
Yeah,
It's okay if you just be you.
absolutely. Sort of
So
bloom out of that. So interestingly, you were talking a lot about capitalism, and the way that we're taught to be, but you also teach in corporate.
because bills, because capitalism.
Yeah. So how do
Yeah.
you find that?
Um, by reminding myself that everybody has mental health, and if a company wants to look after the well-being of their, I mean, it's a no rules approach, I think, because you
Yeah.
could easily go and do standard team building,
Yeah.
but what if you wanted to make things out of cardboard
Yeah.
instead for your
And do
team
you
building?
are they just it must be wonderful to go and kind of go in there in the Eden way and go this.
And I think so much of it is about because so much of me feels like it's selling out because of capitalism, but
There'll
also
be many people in there who maybe were told that art wasn't a viable career,
exactly,
and actually their inner artists will have been released through a workshop with you
and it's all about
and a
creative
reminder.
thinking. It's confidence building, it's empowering, and also it's fun.
Mm.
And it's so I haven't disclaimer, I haven't actually done a cardboard making corporate thing yet, but that's the
But it's
dream.
on the cards.
I would, making crowns for ourselves out of cardboard
Yeah,
or making
that-
little awards for each other.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah. I
very
love the
would love to do
cross-pollination.
that.
I mean, I do workshops for Dyson for their Dyson Institute with the students, and I love their engineering
Oh,
brains
that's
on textiles.
great.
It is a
Yeah.
beautiful thing seeing what they do and how they think.
I think
I
it's also
constantly
thinking
loving.
about like humans, if you're working at a particular place, it's because you are good at XYZ, whatever is relevant to that place. But we are so multifaceted as
Mhm.
humans. And it's again, it's not just about the art, it's about what it helps you think in a different way, spark ideas, remind yourself that actually it's really important to have some rest,
Yeah.
whatever rest looks like to you. Um, so
But
yeah,
also,
that
I think in terms of no rules, it's being around like-minded souls that
absolutely.
are completely encouraging you to kind of keep being you.
Exactly.
This is the point. This is where I've got to after 4 years of running it. I'm like, oh, actually, come in and we'll, embrace you, your
Yeah.
individuality.
And
Always
that's
when I do
yeah,
in-person workshops, I'm always like, right, you're not going to make an end result. You might. I mean, obviously, there's no rules. If you do, that's great. But I want you all to do your own thing, and I will
yeah,
run around like crazy and talk to you all. I want to see everybody's personal kind of development, and that is kind of how it is in No Rules, but it's not just me.
yeah,
Everybody nurtures everybody else because it is quite niche, and you
yeah.
know when it's right for you,
Yeah,
I'm so glad you
absolutely.
joined because it's
Oh, me
just
too.
so lovely to talk to you about all the things that you do, and it's so empowering. We empower each other,
That's it.
basically.
That's it. And it's yeah, I see you being a human.
Mm.
You keep doing being a human. You're doing great.
And you, Eden. So where can people find you? Um, on where do you hang out? On your website, on Instagram?
So my website is edenfay.co.uk. I'm on Instagram at what am I at? Eden_Fay, Fay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that with this we can well, maybe YouTube as well.
Exactly. Yes, totally. Oh yeah, you've got to open a YouTube channel now. So we can
Actually,
put this on
yes.
it. This
Yeah,
can be your first
absolutely.
post.
But it's that same thing of doing it in the way that you want to do it.
Yeah.
But it's doing
And
it
if
in a way that works because it's not like I'd turn up to a corporate job wearing a suit. Like I'm wearing my dungarees.
But also, and this is a really important point, I open No Rules as a place for impatient creative rebels. Quick, 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 we're doing this. But actually, what it's taught me that good things take time.
Yeah.
Slowly, slowly. Like you've probably got loads of reels on Instagram that you could make into shorts for YouTube. You know,
Yes, that's
actually,
true. Yeah.
slowly, we can like cross-pollinate those things and like
Yeah.
but it will happen. And
Yeah.
when we look back over a year from what, even if I look back on my photo stream, I'm like, oh my goodness, loads has happened.
Yeah.
It's just keep going on, plodding
Yeah.
onwards, finding ourselves, seeing what feels right,
Doing
living
what feels good.
authentically.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Eden. This has been wonderful.
Oh, it's a
Really,
pleasure. This
really
is
great to talk.
lovely.
And yeah, and if you're watching this on Eden's YouTube, www.norulestextilesociety if you fancy joining us over there for our membership of Impatient Creative Rebels. Anyway,
Love
thank
that.
you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.